What would you do if you spent 22 years building something from the ground up, kept people safe, wrote every protocol that mattered, and then one Tuesday morning some guy who'd been in the building for 6 weeks told you that you had 3 weeks to hand over everything you'd built to a foreign company? Think about that. Not as a hypothetical, as something that actually happened. My name is Wade Phillips. I'm 47 years old. I spent 22 years at Blackstone Manufacturing in Charlotte, North Carolina. The last 15 of those as head of manufacturing operations. What happened to me in October 2024 is the kind of story I used to hear from other Marines and think that'll never happen to me. I've been here too long. I know too much. They need me. That's exactly what they were counting on. 8:15 a.m., Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. I was in the main floor break room, the one with the vending machine that ate your dollar bills and the coffee that tasted like motor oil. I had my clipboard going over the night shift handoff notes. Line 2 was running 3% under spec on the aluminum housing assemblies. Line 5 had a hydraulic pressure drop that maintenance flagged for morning review. Standard Tuesday morning intel, that's when Ashley Carter walked in. Ashley was our HR director, mid-40s, always professional. She wasn't the type to come down to the floor break room for small talk. When she appeared with that particular expression, the one that's trying real hard to stay neutral, you knew the mission parameters had changed. Wade, can you come up to conference room B Rex with like a few minutes? Rex was Rex Bennett, VP of Operations from Seoul, sent by Hanwha Defense when they finalized the acquisition of Blackstone back in April 2024. He'd been on site for 6 weeks. In those 6 weeks, he'd held 3 all-hands meetings, introduced 2 new reporting systems that nobody understood, and used the phrase operational synergies enough times that someone in maintenance had started keeping count on the whiteboard. I set my clipboard down, picked up my coffee, followed Ashley to the elevator. When I walked into conference room B, Rex was already positioned at the head of the table. Sitting next to him was a young man I'd never seen before. Maybe 29, 30, clean shirt, soft hands. I noticed that immediately. Force of habit from the core. A notepad already open in front of him, pen ready, like he was prepared to document a briefing he hadn't been briefed on yet. Rex said, "Wade, good morning. This is Clay Morrison. He's joining us as Junior Operations Manager. We'd like you to spend the next 3 weeks getting him up to speed on your processes, your documentation, the full operational framework." I looked at Clay. He gave me a polite nod. I looked back at Rex. I set my coffee down on the table slowly. "I'll need until end of week before we discuss any knowledge transfer timeline," I said. Rex blinked. "We were hoping to start tomorrow." "End of week," I said. Didn't elaborate, picked my coffee back up, nodded at Clay, and walked out. I went back to my desk, sat down, stared at my screen without processing anything for about 2 minutes. Then I opened my bottom desk drawer, the one with the combination lock, and pulled out a manila folder. Inside was my employment contract from 2009, the one I'd signed when Blackstone's previous ownership change had required new senior management agreements during the financial crisis. I turned to Section 11, Paragraph B. I'd read it maybe a dozen times over the years, just to remember it was there. It said that any proprietary operational systems, documentation frameworks, or process architectures developed by me using personal time and personal resources would remain my intellectual property unless explicitly purchased by the company through a separate written licensing agreement. I read it twice more. Then I called Cody Reynolds. Cody and I went back to Camp Lejeune in '98. He'd gotten out after 8 years, went to law school, built a practice in IP and employment contracts. We grabbed lunch every few months, watched Panthers games together in the fall. He was the kind of lawyer who cut through the smoke and told you what the situation actually was. Got his voicemail. "Cody, it's Wade. I think I'm about to get pushed out of Blackstone. There's a clause in my 2009 contract I need you to look at. Call me when you can." He called back at 11:42 a.m. "Talk to me," he said. I told him everything. The meeting, Clay Morrison, Rex's 3-week timeline. When I got to Section 11, Paragraph B, and what I'd spent the better part of 15 years building under that contract, he went quiet for a moment. "Wade, tell me you kept documentation. Personal notebooks going back to 2003, files on my home computer with creation timestamps, emails I sent myself as backup logs." The original draft of the first operations manual, I wrote it on a legal pad on a Sunday in December 2003. Still have the pad. Another pause. "Do not agree to transfer anything. Not a page, not a conversation, not a verbal walkthrough. Tell them you're consulting legal before any knowledge handoff begins." I'm looking at that contract tonight. They want to start tomorrow. Tell them end of week. You already did. Good. That buys us time. I hung up. Went back to the pressure variance report for line 2. Adjusted my collar twice. Then got back to work. Cody called me back at 10:30 that night. I was sitting at my kitchen table, same table where I'd written that first operations manual back in 2003, same chair probably. The house was quiet. My son had his own place across town, and the divorce had been finalized 3 years ago. Just me, the table, and a cup of coffee that had gone cold. I want to say something about that table because it matters to the story. I bought this house in 2001, 2-story in Myers Park, about 15 minutes from the plant. Took out a 30-year mortgage at 6.8% because that's what rates were. And you didn't wait around for better. I'd made every payment, every single one. Even the 2 years after the divorce when money was tight enough that I was eating sandwiches for dinner 4 nights a week. The final mortgage payment was scheduled for June 2031. Still 7 years away from the day, Rex Bennett told me to train my replacement. The phone rang. Wade, it's Cody. I've read the whole contract. Section 11B is solid. You own that documentation. Everything you built on your own time with your own resources, the manuals, the safety frameworks, the maintenance protocols, none of it was ever purchased by Blackstone, not by the original ownership, not by the second, not by Hanwha. They've been operating on your intellectual property for 15 years without a licensing agreement. I let that sit for a second. What do I do with that? Tomorrow morning, you go in calm. You don't raise your voice. You tell them that before any knowledge transfer can begin, the company needs to establish a formal licensing agreement for your proprietary materials. You state the facts. You don't threaten and you don't sign anything they put in front of you. If they push back hard, then we file. I looked at the legal pad sitting on the corner of the table, the original one from December 2003. Cody, let me tell you why I started writing all this down in the first place. It was 2000. I was a shift supervisor on the main floor. I'd been at Blackstone 5 years by then, worked my way off the line into a supervisory role the Marine way, which is earning it. A guy named Dale Foster was clearing a jam on the secondary conveyor on line 3, standard procedure. Except the standard procedure at that point existed only in the heads of the 3 guys who'd been doing it longest. Nothing written down, no formal clearance protocol, just institutional memory passed from one shift to the next. Dale's hand got caught in the roller assembly. He kept the hand, but barely. 2 surgeries, 6 months of rehab. He came back to work the following year, walking different and never talking about it. I stood in that hospital waiting room the night it happened and made myself a promise. If I was going to be responsible for people's safety, I was going to write down every single thing that kept them safe. Every procedure, every workaround, every warning that the manual didn't include because the manual had been written by engineers who'd never run a shift. I started that December, kitchen table, legal pad, every Sunday morning before anyone else was up. By 2005, I had 6 binders. By 2009, when the new ownership came in and wanted everything formalized, I had the foundation of what became the complete Blackstone operational documentation library. 12 process manuals, a 180-page safety compliance framework cross-referenced with OSHA standards, preventive maintenance schedules for every major piece of equipment, and a risk assessment matrix that the plant's insurance carrier asked to use as a reference model. When I sat down with the company's lawyer and Cody in 2009 to sign the new contract, I knew what I had. Section 11, paragraph B went into the contract. Nobody on the company's side pushed back. I don't think they understood what they were agreeing to. I understood exactly what I was agreeing to. These weren't just operation manuals. They were the complete blueprint for how to manufacture defense components to military specifications. Hanwha wasn't just buying a manufacturing plant. They were buying access to processes that had taken decades to perfect, processes that kept American defense contractors competitive. When you're building parts for Apache helicopters and Bradley fighting vehicles, you don't just wing it. Every tolerance, every heat treatment, every quality control checkpoint I documented over 15 years represented something that couldn't be replicated overnight. Wednesday morning, 8:20 a.m. I got to the plant before Rex, got my coffee, went to my desk, and sat there for a few minutes, just listening to the sound of the floor below, the hum of the ventilation, the rhythmic clank of line 2, running its morning cycle. Sounds I'd been listening to since before some of my current crew was born. When Rex came through the main entrance at 8:45, I gave him 5 minutes to settle, then walked to his office. He looked up. Wade, ready to get Clay started today? Before we get there, I need to clarify something. I sat down across from him without being asked. The operational documentation, the process manuals, the safety framework, the maintenance architecture, those materials are my intellectual property. Section 11, paragraph B of my 2009 contract. They've never been purchased by Blackstone or by Hanwha Defense. I'm willing to negotiate a licensing agreement, but I can't begin any knowledge transfer without one in place. Rex stared at me. Wade, you built those for the company. I built them on my own time at my own kitchen table using my own resources. I have documentation going back to 2003. My attorney has reviewed the contract. His jaw tightened. Not angry, more like a pressure gauge reading higher than expected. I need to make some calls, he said. Of course, I'll be at my desk. At 11:35 a.m., my email pinged. Subject line, meeting 2 p.m. today. Conference room A. From Rex, CC'd to Ashley Carter and someone named Nicole Stevens, outside counsel for Hanwha Defense North America. I forwarded it to Cody. He called me back in 6 minutes. I'm coming to Charlotte. Do not walk into that room without me. Nicole Stevens arrived at 1:40 p.m. We found a small conference room on the second floor and closed the door. Cody set his briefcase on the table and slid a bound document across to me. This is the proposal. We're asking $442,000. That breaks down as $385,000 for the full IP transfer, covering 15 years of unlicensed use plus current fair market value, and a 3-month consulting contract at $19,000 per month to ensure proper knowledge transfer. Total package $442,000 plus your severance remains intact and separate. I looked at the number, $442,000 for the IP. Wade, that documentation library is the operational backbone of a plant that handles $60 million in annual defense contracts. If they lose access to it, they don't just lose paperwork. They lose the institutional memory of how every system in that building actually functions under defense specifications. $385,000 is not aggressive. It's accurate. I nodded, thought about Dale Foster's hand, thought about every Sunday morning I'd spent at the same kitchen table writing down procedures that kept people alive. Thought about the Apache helicopter components we manufactured, knowing that somewhere a pilot was depending on the quality control protocols I'd written. What happens if Hanwha says no? I asked. Then they operate without your documentation, Cody said. And when their first defense contract audit fails because they can't demonstrate proper process controls, they'll come back to this table, but the price will be higher. 2 p.m. exactly. Conference room A was larger than the break room meetings. Longer table, more chairs, windows looking out over the parking lot and the Catawba River beyond it. Rex was already seated when we walked in. So was Ashley Carter, hands folded, expression carefully neutral. At the far end, Nicole Stevens, late 40s, dark blazer, the kind of stillness that comes from spending decades in rooms exactly like this one. Cody and I sat down across from them. Nicole spoke first. Mr. Phillips, Mr. Reynolds, thank you for making time. We've had an opportunity to review the employment contract, specifically Section 11, Paragraph B. We'd like to find a practical resolution. Cody slid the proposal across the table without a word. Nicole picked it up, read it, passed it to Rex. Rex looked at the number and something shifted in his face. Not surprise exactly, more like a recalibration. He passed it to Ashley. Ashley read it and set it down, $442,000. Nicole said, "Not a question." That's correct. The breakdown is detailed on page 2. We're open to discussion, but the baseline reflects 15 years of unlicensed use of proprietary materials. Rex leaned forward. Wade, you built this documentation as part of your role here. It was always understood to be company property. I looked at him steadily. Rex, I built the first manual on a Sunday morning in December 2003 at my kitchen table on my own time, before this management team existed and before Hanwha Defense had ever heard of Blackstone Manufacturing. I have the original legal pad, time-stamped digital files, and 21 years of documentation that establishes exactly when and how each element was created. My contract from 2009 reflects that reality. The room went quiet. Nicole looked at Rex. Rex looked at his copy of the proposal. He adjusted his tie once. Not like my collar habit, just buying time. We'd like to explore a lower figure, Nicole said finally. We're open to reasonable negotiation, Cody replied. But I want to be clear. In the absence of a licensing agreement, Mr. Phillips has no legal obligation to transfer any materials. The plant's operational continuity is a shared interest here. I understood what Cody wasn't saying directly. Without my documentation, Hanwha couldn't just run the plant. They couldn't prove to the Defense Contract Management Agency that they were following proper protocols. They couldn't demonstrate compliance with military specifications. Every defense contract would be at risk. This wasn't just about operation manuals. This was about protecting American manufacturing capabilities that had taken decades to develop. When companies like Hanwha acquired U.S. defense contractors, they weren't just buying factories. They were buying access to processes, quality standards, and institutional knowledge that gave American manufacturers their edge. Nicole asked for a recess. 10 minutes. Cody and I stood in the hallway. I looked out the window at the parking lot below. My truck was in its usual spot, Space 12, where I'd parked every day for 22 years. "How are you doing?" Cody asked quietly. "Fine," I said, adjusted my collar twice. "Fine, Wade, you need to understand something. This isn't just about your documentation. Hanwha probably has plans to transfer key operations to their facilities in Korea within 18 months. Your IP would go with them. All those defense manufacturing processes you spent 15 years perfecting would end up overseas. That hit different than I expected. I'd served 8 years in the Marines, deployed twice to the Middle East. I'd come home and spent 22 years building manufacturing processes that helped keep American military equipment operational. The idea that those processes might end up in foreign hands wasn't just personal. It was a betrayal of everything I'd worked for. When we went back in, the energy had changed. Rex was quieter. Ashley had her notepad out. Nicole was doing all the talking now. "We can offer $340,000 for the IP transfer and a 2-month consulting arrangement at $17,000 per month. That's our opening counter." Cody didn't blink. "We'll come down to $420,000 for the IP and hold the consulting at 3 months, $19,000 per month. That's $477,000 total." Nicole made a note. "We'll need to take this back internally. Can you give us until Friday?" Of course, we shook hands. Professional, clean. Walking out, I passed Clay Morrison in the hallway. He was coming back from the break room with a coffee. He gave me a slightly uncertain look, like he knew something was happening, but not what. "Clay," I said. "Wade," he nodded. That was the whole conversation. He didn't know what he'd walked into. That wasn't his fault. Friday morning, 9:15 a.m., email from Nicole Stevens, subject line, revised proposal. I opened it. Hanwha Defense was prepared to offer $375,000 for the full IP transfer and a 3-month consulting contract at $18,500 per month. Total $430,500, and I forwarded it to Cody. He called it 928, counter at $405,000 IP. 3 months at $19,000. We're getting there. I typed the counter, sent it at 9:42. Nicole replied at 4:20 p.m. "Can we meet Monday afternoon?" That weekend, I didn't spiral. I mowed the backyard on Saturday morning because it needed mowing. I watched the Panthers lose on Sunday, same as usual. I went to bed at 10:30 both nights. But I thought about my son Lance. He was 26 now, born the same year I'd started at Blackstone. He lived across town, worked in logistics for a freight company, called me every Sunday. He didn't know any of this was happening yet. I hadn't told him because I didn't want to until I knew how it was going to land. I thought about what I would say if it went wrong, if Hanwha decided to litigate and drag it out, if I ended up in a legal fight that cost more than I'd win. I thought about it, and then I stopped thinking about it because there wasn't anything useful in that direction. Monday afternoon, same conference room, different energy. Rex was there, but quieter than before. The kind of quiet that means a decision has already been made somewhere above your pay grade. Ashley had her notepad but didn't open it. Nicole was running the room. "We're prepared to offer $390,000 for the full IP transfer and a 3-month consulting arrangement at $18,500 per month. Total $445,500 and $1,000 final offer." Cody looked at me. I looked at him. $445,500 December 100 plus 5 months severance at $95,000 annual. Another $39,583 total package, $485.83. I thought about the kitchen table, the legal pad, Dale Foster's hand. 22 years of Tuesdays exactly like this one, except none of the others had mattered quite like this. I thought about those Apache helicopter components and the pilots who depended on them. I thought about American manufacturing jobs that wouldn't be transferred overseas if companies like ours could stay competitive. We'll accept $395,000 for the IP and 3 months at $19,000, Cody said. Total $452,000. Nicole looked at the finance representative beside her. He gave a small nod. Agreed. $452,000 with the 5-month severance package remaining separate and intact. I shook hands with Rex last. His grip was fine, professional. He looked tired. Rex, I said. Just his name. Wade, he said. That was enough. The paperwork took the rest of the week. I signed on Friday, October 25th, 2024, at 3:15 p.m. in Nicole's office downtown. The first payment, $395,000, cleared my account on Monday, October 28th, at 11:20 a.m. I was sitting in my truck in the driveway when the bank notification came through. I sat there for a while. Then I went inside and called Lance. Told him the whole thing, start to finish. At the end he said, "Dad, you kept a legal pad from 2003. Still have it," I said. He laughed. Then he said, "Are you okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I think I am." The next 3 months I showed up every day as the contract required. I worked with Clay Morrison on the full knowledge transfer, answered every question, made video walkthroughs for the systems that were harder to explain in writing. I put together a 125-page transition manual, more thorough than anything I'd done before because this time I was doing it for a company that had paid for it. Clay was a decent person, completely out of his depth in a manufacturing environment, but he knew it and didn't pretend otherwise. He asked good questions. He stayed late. He wrote things down. Those are the things that matter on a factory floor, and he figured that out faster than I expected. My consulting contract ended January 20th, 2025. February 3rd, 2025, I registered Phillips Manufacturing Solutions with the state of North Carolina. Small office in a converted warehouse in Noda, north side of Charlotte. Just me and a laptop with upgraded versions of every system I'd spent 22 years developing. By June, 2 former Blackstone colleagues had joined me. Guys I'd trained, guys I trusted. By fall, we had 8 people and 15 active clients, small and mid-sized defense contractors across the Southeast who needed operational consulting and safety compliance work done by people who'd actually stood on a factory floor. People who understood that when you're building components for military equipment, every detail matters because lives depend on it. Year 1 revenue, $1.4 million. Year 2 projection, $2.8 million. We're on track. Every client came through reputation. No advertising, no cold outreach, just people who'd worked with me for years, picking up the phone and calling the number they already had. As for Blackstone Manufacturing, Rex Bennett was reassigned to the Chicago office in March 2025 following what the internal reports called operational compliance incidents. Ashley Carter faced a review over the documentation handoff procedures. 2 long-term defense clients reduced their contracts within 10 months of my departure. Clay reached out to me in April 2025, said working those 3 months with me had taught him more than 4 years of business school. Asked if there were any openings at Phillips Manufacturing Solutions. I told him I'd keep him in mind. I meant it. I made my regular mortgage payment in June 2025, same as I had for 24 years. Still had 6 years left on the 30-year note, but now I had options. I could pay it off early if I wanted, or keep making payments and invest the rest. Having options felt different than just having obligations. Here's what I know after all this. Companies don't see the infrastructure until it's gone. They see budget lines, head count, spreadsheet calculations. They run the numbers on what it costs to keep someone like me versus what they think it costs to replace me with someone younger and cheaper. They don't put a line item for 22 years of knowing which machine runs hot on cold mornings or which safety procedure never made it into the original manual because it was figured out on a Tuesday afternoon in 2004 and passed down by word of mouth ever since. They don't account for the institutional knowledge that keeps American manufacturing competitive, especially in defense work where quality isn't just important, it's a matter of national security. You can't automate that, you can't train it in 3 weeks, and you can't take it from someone who had the good sense to write it down and put his name on it. My father fixed generators at Camp Lejeune his whole working life, never went past high school. He told me when I was about 19, if you build something, write it down. If you wrote it down, make sure your name is on it, because someday somebody's going to tell you it belongs to them. And on that day, the only thing that matters is what the paper says. He was right about that. He was right about most things. Paper trails beat handshake deals every single time. That's something worth remembering. When you've spent decades building something that matters, don't let anyone convince you it was always theirs to take. The only thing standing between your life's work and someone else's profit margin is the paper you were smart enough to sign. Experience isn't just what you know, it's what you can prove you built. And in a world where loyalty gets you a pink slip and a handshake, the man with the documentation wins every time.